everyone, and welcome back to the Brightworks and another match of Beyond All Reason. Today, we're taking a look at a match that was played recently on Bismuth Valley, and spawning on the western side, representing the blue team here on the far left, a commander that goes by the name of Sabretooth. Going to be showing us what he's got on the front lines as an Armada commander, looking fabulous. Going into a little bit of a solar start here, understandable. The wind can be pretty fickle on this map, so I definitely can appreciate that T1 solar start. Just got to keep that T1 solar in your back pocket. Make sure you spend it wisely as you later increase the energy infrastructure. All the way across the map here, representing the red team, also as Armada, also on the front line, also in the same position, exactly mirrored against the blue team leader, goes by the name of Farmaggio. Farmaggio going to be playing some of those Armada vehicles. Love to see it here. We are going double metal extractor, double solar into the vehicle bay, into the metal extractor. Usually a little bit better to grab that first metal or that third metal extractor, pardon me, before you go for the vehicle bay. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it's about 100 metal you get out of doing it that way, as opposed to building the vehicle bay first. Certainly with vehicles, you certainly care a whole lot about every little scrap of metal that you can come by here and there. Bismuth Valley also features these 2.8 metal extractor spots here, so it's important that these commanders start moving forward. As a vehicle commander, one of the things that you have to be really comfortable with is leaving your base unattended here, so going for an LLT makes a whole lot of sense. At the very least, it's going to make sure that... Oh, we're not going to finish that solar panel? Oh, no. That's, yeah, about 80 or so metal was put into that before it started decaying. I was going to say, you got to be comfortable leaving your base behind as a vehicle player, because you need to march forward and claim all these metal spots right here if you want to have any chance of producing enough units to keep up with your opponent in the other lane. Sabretooth is also going for vehicles here, but similarly hasn't started moving. Actually falling a little bit behind here. Yeah, Sabretooth needs to start walking. Put on his walking shoes. It's tricky. It's very tricky. Understandable to get this first constructor out, though. That definitely guarantees that you're going to have enough build power in the backline. Makes it a little bit more comfortable, but does mean you're going to be a little bit behind in the economic game. Units are headed across the field for a whole bunch of different players right now. Up on the northern side, the Seafoam Green player, Zombine, is sending a couple of rascals across the field here. Going to try and do a little bit of damage to Denny00. There's a couple of exposed metal extractors, so... Yeah, Yellow Commander actually a little bit in trouble here. Looks like those units will be seen. Yeah, we're moving grunts into position here. Very nicely done. Little scuffle on the southern side as well as a couple of rovers lined up against the rovers of the red team. Blue versus red, and a tale as old as time. And grunts on the southern side meeting an incisor as well. So everybody's now well aware of exactly what their opponent is going up against. Sort of reaching out and shaking hands, as it were, and figuring out exactly what their opponent's going to be playing, what composition they're going to be playing, what faction they're going to be playing as. At this point, it's time that you start thinking about compositions here. Actually going to scout the air player up on the northern side here. Well, this could actually be really huge. Bismuth Valley, not a frontline backline kind of a map. It's actually a lanes map, so there's not really any one spot that's designated air. There's not one spot that's designated eco. You're pretty much everybody is supposed to fight on the front lines here. So the fact that we've discovered an air player, yeah, you can even see it in chat, air question mark. It could mean that there's a tremendous advantage as the air player will essentially be uncontested, but also this early warning should mean that anti-air goes up in just about every base across the blue front here. Nice little snipes, by the way, from these little rovers on the other side of the map. Gonna blast away some of these metal extractors. LLT is coming up. Are they gonna get the third one? Ooh, I think so. Oh, just barely. 1% left on that metal extractor here. At the very least, these mexes will be reclaimed right here by the pink player, but for the time being, that is going to mean that it's a 2 versus 1, either on this northern lane or this slightly less northern lane. The northern lane of the low ground here. Either one of those is going to have one less player on it, so if we apply a whole lot of pressure, we being the blue team, apply a whole lot of pressure, yeah, you can see 26 projects says Zom, we push him, and I absolutely agree. If a whole lot of pressure is applied, then it certainly means that this player will crumble, because essentially Denny00 is the only one actually holding the front line here. We'll have to see just how effective that can be. Based off the size of this replay file, I'm guessing that the pressure was not sufficient, but we'll have to see. Maybe it was. Maybe it's a long, drawn-out swing match. Back and forth, what do you call that? What do I call that? A yin-yang match, that's what I call it. When one side swings and then the other side swings, you sort of get this rotation around where it flips the axis of battle. Maybe someone could come up with a better name for it. Yeah, Grunt's gonna be more than happy to trade out against a blitz or two. You do have to be careful, though. Doesn't take too many of those blitzes to wipe out an entire column of grunts right here, as we can see. Yeah, 26 projects. I think this is an appropriate trade. I mean, I think normally this trade wouldn't be perfect, but it's still pretty good. And I mean, yeah, look how many of those grunts go down for the blitzes. One blitz paid the price right there for all those grunts. Definitely well worth it. Denny 0-0 in a whole lot of trouble here. This is some excellent coordination from the blue team. Definitely a little bit higher than the true skill level would indicate here. These are definitely some experienced players. You can see indicated by the silver tails of chevrons poking out here. Means that these players have been around the block a little while. We have air constructors building some dragon's claws. That's quite nice. At the very least, we're spending our metal on some sort of defensive structure here to actually help out the front line, as opposed to, yeah, just leaving it open and exposed. It's definitely tricky. The air advantage is real. You can certainly use those airplanes to get a whole lot of damage across the map. If you send bombers across and you manage to target down metal extractors, radar towers, geothermals, once those are claimed, those are always a good target as well, just because how soft they are and how much they contribute to the early game economy. I think there's a lot of potential here for the air player to get a lot of work done, but they have to get the work done. Otherwise, yeah, they're just going to start losing too many units, and too much metal is eventually going to spiral out of their control, and eventually it'll be a blue team advantage. Dregano, the lime green commander on the southern side, well, loads of corpses over here, but the commander isn't reclaiming or building or doing anything. There we go. We're going to repair at the very least. It's better than nothing, but I think we should probably eat up a lot of these and maybe try and claim this metal extractor once more. We do have aggravators coming up, though, from the back line. That's where the army is. It's just on the way. Reinforcements en route. Eventually, we're going for a higher tier army for basically everybody down here. Nino Resin is also going into some mazes and some rocketeers, some resbots, all that good stuff. Meanwhile, Nutria has gone into vehicles, so struggling a little bit with some energy, it would appear. Yeah, first advanced solar comes up and boosts that energy production quite a lot here, almost doubling the energy production for the brown commander here. Aggravators starting to line up their shots. Yeah, we need to apply pressure. Right now, the only thing holding back the brown commander is the fact that they don't have enough energy, well, enough units on the front line, essentially. As soon as these tanks get out in big numbers, mass numbers, it's going to be really difficult to push back. Already, the single medium tank is causing so many issues here. Luckily, the aggravators are a decent enough response, and the LLTs will be enough helping damage there, supporting damage there, enough assisting fire that they'll actually be able to clean all that up. But man, it isn't comfortable to have to deal with those vehicles when you're dealing with some, or when you're controlling rather, some of those much squishier, much slower bots that are waddling around. Here we go, nice engagement. Yeah, medium tank's finding a soft opening here. Excellently done. Exactly what we want to see. Denny 0-0 in a lot of trouble. There goes the whole army. So where's the pressure that we're supposed to be applying? Right now I see a single Thrasher applying pressure right here for Zombie, and 26 Projects is doing a great job though. Yeah, there we go. A bunch of medium tanks and Janices and all sorts of other stuff are pulled down from this northern side. It's such a weird battle. So yeah, Yarman Enza has pushed forward here with the commander, and that's it. I mean, we have so many Rocketeers coming up for Dobid. However, Dobid is not using any of them to apply pressure here. We've got tons and tons of LLTs that were set up, but this isn't the front line. This is your fallback point here. The front line should be split right down the middle right here. Yarman Enza is able to help out his teammate because, well, effectively no pressure has been applied right here. Just a tiniest bit of pressure. Oh no, we're going for a gauntlet. Oh no. We're just gonna turtle up here. This is the problem I have with this scenarios, is especially for new players, it makes them feel like this is the correct way to play, but it's a definitely less efficient way of getting what you want in one of these games. Rocketeers here, I'm glad to see them, and I'm glad to see that they're moving forward. I think they're definitely gonna get some value out. We'll love to see some resbots there. It's a little more complicated, but if you're feeling like stepping up your game and making everything just a little bit more efficient, getting a couple of resbots to pick up the Rocketeers you lose here just makes them even more powerful. You can see Rocketeers go down to the LLTs, but they don't crumble into ruin. They just fall on their face a little bit, and it just takes a little rewiring, a jump start, a little zip-zappity zoop, and those Rocketeers are back up on their feet, and they can contribute once more to your army here. With just the lightest amount of pressure right here, Yarman Enza is pushed back, and that commander can be well kited by those Rocketeers, by the way. Those are definitely sufficient to kill a commander, especially if the commander is unassisted by any units whatsoever, as the orange one is. We are going up to T2, a little bit forward here. Not crazy far forward right now, though. We'll build power over here. It is in the works right now. It's in the bright works. Thank you. Thank you. I will be here all week. It's in the works right now for the orange commander, but unfortunately not quite up yet. Maybe that's a good thing, though, because it does mean that we're not going to be dumping so much metal into that T2 lab right now that it chokes out the economy that's helping save the northern lane using some of those vehicles. Whoa, sorry about that. Formaggio as well as W Bon X. Going to be holding this line right here. Maces as well as flamethrower turrets and all sorts of other stuff, trying to contribute firepower back towards these medium tanks and these medium bots and these medium light solar panels. What are we doing with this many solar panels on the front line? My goodness. A grand total, oh my god, 1,085 solar panels up on the front line right here. A tremendous, well, minus a little bit now as they get blown to smithereens by the shell shockers up here. It's a little bit of a panic button, right? You start throwing out solar panels when you're choked for energy on the front line using your commander, but if you lose those solar panels, it's so much metal sunk to the ground, it really, really starts to hurt. Agitator over here, a little bit less offensive because it's in such a nice strategic location. Going to be able to fire away at a lot of these vehicles and bots and all sorts of other stuff set up by the red team over here. So I think I like this one's position quite a bit more. Hope it does get the gauntlet up and running. I mean, at the very least, it shuts down a little bit of the aggression that was coming through this way. Yarmanenzo with some killer degens shuts down a whole bunch of those Rocketeers. This is definitely just a timid player here, not quite familiar with just how aggressive they can actually be with a lot of these bots pushing forward right now. Nice little wraparound. Whoa, we did have a little bit of a pause right there. Looks like everybody got back into the game, some strategizing and whatnot as well, but it looks like there's a little bit of a wrap. Pardon me, wow. Take a sip of my agua here. Pardon me, just came off of the live stream this, as of recording this Tuesday, so my voice always gets a little bit raspy after that. Anywho, Zombie comes in with the wraparound is all I'm trying to say here, providing a little bit of counter pressure and forcing the orange player to contribute more forces down south than they were up north, meaning that Denny is forced to give up a little bit more space up on the northern side. We do have Resbots patching up a bunch of these vehicles though, so that's actually really nice to see. Gonna be trying to flip some of those tanks against his opponent here, bringing them back to life and using them on the front lines, actually making it quite difficult for 26 projects to actually push forward there. Nice play. Massive medium tank bot battle down on the southern side here, yeah. Loads of tanks, loads of maces, loads of Rocketeers. There's even a Centurion or two mixed into the mix there. Mixed into the good old unit composition. I'm not opposed to it. Usually we see them used very poignantly though. They're meant as very specific tools in a toolbox. They're not very good as a general composition unit. They're great against spam. They're great against grunt spam, particularly. Not so excellent against, say, for instance, medium tanks, Janices, riot tanks, all that sort of stuff. Pink Commander goes down over here on the southern side. Nino Resin. Wow, I just realized this team apparently all knows each other or something. Very nationality coordinated team right here. Oh, there's a gauntlet on the southern side too. I guess the position on that gauntlet's not too bad either. It would have been a little bit better, a little more forward here so that it could have fired away at this metal extractor. Not the end of the world by any measure, but still, if you're gonna go for a gauntlet, it just about has to be as efficient as you can possibly make it in order to, well, make it worth its metal. Speaking of worth its metal, there's a lot of metal lying in the ruin over here. We definitely need to see some Resbots or a Twitcher or anything that can reclaim getting over there and starting to do some damage. A little bit of a run by on this side, though. That's actually really nice to see. Yeah, LLTs start to fall right here. Those LLTs on their very, very last legs. The army for the green commander pushing back the pink commander right here. Killer run by knocked out all the mexes over here as well, so the brown commander is extremely low on metal right now. Goes for the agitator regardless. That agitator should not be allowed to come up and running here. Wouldn't even mind seeing the commander march forward to degen that. Wouldn't be the end of the world. Deregano is going to be reclaiming here, but not the core of this metal chunk right here, which is the commander wreckage, which accounts for over a third of it. Just about a third of it. So this gauntlet, this agitator, both of them combined kill count of 20. Definitely doing a little bit better out here in the middle of the map. Radar towers are up there, or I should say radar jammer towers are up though, in order to keep that pesky plasma projectile source off of the back of the red team. The aggression is looking great here though. Yeah, the aggression is looking really, really great. Medium tanks slowly able to push through here. 26 projects would definitely benefit from some Resbots of their own. It does look like we have the bot lab up and running right now, but no build power on it, and especially no bots coming out of it here. We did go for T2 in the backline. Are we upgrading our mexes? Why are we idle right now? 26 projects just busy microing, I suppose, all of the units on the front line and not actually improving any of the economy situation in the back. You should almost always go for a constructor and then build those advanced metal extractors, 4x your economy, quadrupling the income that you get per second. Even if it means you just go into T1 production afterwards. Obviously, 4 times the amount of units on the field. Definitely well worth it. T2 units coming out from a very far forward T2 lab right here. They do manage to bring down the commander for the brown player here. Yeah, that's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt quite a bit. Resbots eventually do mop up all this, by the way, which is part of the reason why this side has been so successful. All that metal turning back into units and being applied on the field here. Still T1. I would love to see a T2 transition. It actually looks like we're working on it. Yeah, we're gonna go for some air defense and then eventually some little build towers, and then eventually we'll go into T2, but just not quite there yet. Looks like some nice D-guns right here from the tank commander. Managing to blast down some of those tanks from the blue commander, nullifying that metal, zeroing it, turning it into nothing but molten, evaporated, atomized slag floating through the atmosphere. On this map, and on lane maps in general, typically the way that you get to T2 is by winning your lane. And if you win your lane hard enough, it means that you're rewarded with the T2 transition. Typically, that's kind of the rule of thumb. Interestingly, what's happened here, this northern side has essentially forfeited a big portion of their lane in order to go very greedy into T2. And at the end of the day, what it ended up meaning is that they got to T2 a little bit quicker than the blue team did. Or their counterparts on the blue team anyway. You can see that the parts of blue team that actually won their lane, like the southern side, got to T2 extremely quickly as soon as they did so. The advantage... Whoa. Pardon me. The advantage should definitely be pressed right here. Slowly. But very surely. I don't mind the slow Sheldon march. It's effective and especially demoralizing. Yeah, if you're playing with those medium tanks, it can feel really pointless to go up against Sheldon. This is really huge, though. We blasted through the entire static defense setup over here for the players in the middle of the map, the tan player and the red player here. Essentially nothing left on the floor here. We should absolutely be eating up as much of this as possible, and indeed, it looks like most of the commanders are working on it. No res bots, though, out in the middle of the map, so that's a little bit of a pain. Sabretooth also working on expanding the economy here. We do have a bunch of wind turbines planned, but not quite in motion yet. Yeah, they're not spaced out quite enough yet, so 1 or 2 bombers sent across. Bombers, by the way, which I haven't seen from the air player. Actually, yeah, I'm just now noticing. Absolutely no airplay whatsoever. What is going on back here? If you're gonna go airplanes, I imagine it's because you're either gonna go Cortex T1 Air, go into some shurikens, try and support your team that way, or you're going to go into Armada T2 Air and go for EMP bombers or gunships or anything like that. In this case, it's the latter. I guess we're just going up to T2 metal extractors here, but the commander should certainly be over there helping. All hands on deck should be building those T2 metal extractors for the pink commander. There are some bulls on the front line. Maybe that's where the micro is going, although these really don't need to be super well controlled and even could stand to just be handed off to the yellow commander here. No reason why the air player should be controlling ground forces on the front lines. Lightning turret's going to cover the retreat right here as most of these medium tanks fall. Joint forces of the Sheldon and the lightning tanks. Eventually the little run by over here was shut down quite nicely as well. Actually not achieving all too much damage. I mean, these metal extractors fell, which is quite nice. Didn't manage to get this one though, which is the high value metal extractor, the 2.8. High value, you know, air quotes, right? It's high value relative to the value of other metal extractors. Still not going to be the making or breaking point for your economy, but it certainly contributes a good healthy, hefty amount of metal to your economy over time. And it's easy to forget about that, but it is really important to keep as many of those up and running as possible here. We do have that T2 economy up and running right now, though, in the backline. Yeah, Nino Resin is up to T2 metal extractors, so could definitely bear to just pump out mass T1 units, try and use them to overwhelm these units over here. We do have Mass Centurion coming out right here for Freddy's. Not opposed to the Mass Centurion. Like I said earlier, they're a bit of a strange tool, but they can be extremely effective in the right spots, and I think lightning tanks is a great option for them, actually. Yeah, they're sturdy enough to deal with the blast from those lightning tanks, and then they do enough damage, too, to really deal with the lighter holes on those lightning tanks. The bulls, however, are going to be a much different story as they immediately blast apart those big, bulky boys. Very rotund is the Centurion. It's points like this where you have an overwhelming positional advantage that you have to start thinking about win conditions here, one of which could definitely be bombing if we went for an air transition in the backline right here, especially in a lane that's already well won. Dragano could definitely be up for consideration there, although the commander, looking extremely low, goes down to some of those bulls and pawns to push forward right there. That actually hurts quite a lot, though Sheldon died there as well as the radar and radar jammer bots. Much more Centurion's going to lose their lives to these bulls pushing forward here. Easy to forget just how sturdy those bulls are, but they are a monster. They can be super, super dangerous on the front lines here. Big old Fiend Wave pushing forward. Lightning turrets are set up, though. Actually, really nice. Yeah, the Hot Pink Commander just went across the map and built a whole bunch of lightning turrets all over the place. Red Commander, likewise, also just went for a whole bunch of those lightning turrets. And it seems to have paid off quite a lot here. Yeah, those T2 vehicles are going to start rolling out here. Oh no, Dobit has gone into 2 more gauntlets and some heavy laser towers over here. About to learn a painful lesson about just how effective those T1 can be against the T2. Zip, Zilch, or Nada, take your pick. It's gonna be all 3 of the above. Bulls here firing down at some of these T1 medium tanks. Not the end of the world here. They do still take quite a while to kill. Yeah, Resbots go down. That's a little nicer. I like this engagement, actually. I mean, the Bulls can be extremely effective from this angle, right? They're effectively taking multiple different 1v1s or 3v3s or however you want to look at it. They're basically giving themselves a way better engagement by coming in from that angle. So that actually worked out really, really nicely. You can see just how effective that was just by the fact that none of the Bulls have died, yet all of the medium tanks have died. Well, most of the medium tanks anyway. Sharpshooters are slowly walking their way out to the field here. I've talked about it before, but usually if you're going to go sharpshooters, one of the best ways to use them is to build up 5, 6, 7 of them in your base, and then send them out in a big wave. Multiple sharpshooters compound extremely quickly. 1 or 2 sharpshooters can be shut down relatively quickly. A couple of ticks, a couple of pawns, a couple of grunts. But once you start building up those numbers, it becomes really difficult, 1, to tell just exactly how many sharpshooters there are firing at you, and 2, whether you have enough forces to actually beat them, because as soon as you show your force, it gets annihilated on the front line. Point being, keep calm and make sure that if you're gonna start using sharpshooters, you have to start thinking long term. They're a very precise tool. You have to use them that way. At least for maximum effect. You can always throw them at the wall and see what sticks, but if you want to get your maximum value out of your units, it's ideal to put them under their best circumstances. Exploiter was set up here, but not going to stand up much to this lightning tank run by that's pushing forward now. Lightning tank's very powerful. Sort of a DPS unit. Very, very high damage, very low health, very good speed. A raiding unit is, I guess we would call that in Beyond All Reason terminology. The question I have, and the question I'm sure we're all asking, is why hasn't the advantage been pressed yet? I mean, these metal extractors were essentially left unclaimed right here. Big old Shelton Ball is essentially forcing a standoff right here. Still an engagement on the southern side, although I think it's eventually going to be dealt with. Yeah, I mean, mass medium tank production is quite nice, and yeah, as soon as these T2 metal extractors come up, you can see just how many medium tanks you really can produce. The answer is 4 times as many. The way it works in bars, you can produce 4 times as many units, but the T2 units are about 3 times as efficient. So if you have the same number of T2 units to 4 times T1 units, eventually you're going to... Maybe that math doesn't add up. Anyways, you can trust me. If you get a T2 army, it's going to beat a T1 army. Almost all the time. 4 times the T1 units does mean, though, that a whole bunch of this T1 defense goes down. A lot of bulls over here, though. These are almost 1,000 metal apiece. It's easy to forget the cost of these bulls. I know I brought it up already, but I really want to emphasize that these bulls are extremely, extremely expensive, so you want to keep them alive, if at all possible, whenever possible. Losing any of these bulls on the front is a definite tragedy. They should be treated like F-35s. So they're extremely, extremely expensive, and you want to field as many of them as possible, but losing a single one should be considered heresy. And look how much damage they can do on the front lines. Just obliterate that T1 static defense. I like this slow push. I mean, I think this is very, very nice. Yeah, the Bulls just slowly marching forward, taking whatever trade they can. There are the sharpshooters. Beautifully done. Yeah, the sharpshooters come in just in time to shut down a couple of those heavy tanks. Just exactly the right heavy target that you want to deal with those sharpshooter. Definitely want them to latch onto something they're not going to overkill with. Medium tank's not a bad option either, because other things can struggle to take down the medium tanks, but the sharpshooter just allows you to get it off the field as quick as possible. It definitely makes it very convenient to deal with, but sometimes it's definitely much more reliable to fire them at heavy tanks. I do love a good sharpshooter ball. There's something to be said for how satisfying it is to hear all those sharpshooter rifle clicks, only to watch an entire army evaporate into thin gray or red or blue mist. The age-old anecdote about the railgun shooting through the tank, leaving only a quarter-sized hole, and all of the crew were sucked out and spat out on the other side of the tank. It's pretty much what I imagine happens when a sharpshooter fires at something. Sharpshooter need to take basically a single step forward here. There we go. A single step forward, or the enemy takes a step forward. Either one will work. There are a bunch of Quaker in the mix here, which is actually quite nice, allowing for a little bit of counterplay against those Starlight. Starlight do outrange basically everything in this composition. Actually, I'm gonna double check that. Yeah, the range is 915 on a Quaker versus 950. Yeah, okay. So the Starlight, I'm pretty sure the highest reaching T2 vehicle available to the Armada faction. Not sure what it would be for Cortex. Maybe the Banisher or something like that. Probably, yeah, maybe it is the Quaker, actually. Either way, you can see how effective that Starlight is. Essentially, it's a sharpshooter in vehicle form. Oh, they do explode quite violently, though, when they die. Yeah, there's just so much metal out on the field right here. It's easy to feel like it's not that much because there's not a whole lot of units, but you gotta remember that each and every one of these units is worth a whole hell of a lot more as we properly step into this T2 late game. Aphis comes up over here from Raggio. I thought I spied the symbol of an advanced fusion reactor coming up extremely early Aphis, and with no construction turrets, the 0 construction turret Aphis is impressive. I'd be lying if I said I didn't have high hopes for that Aphis. I'd be lying if I said I had high hopes for that Aphis. Maybe that's a little clearer. Sheldon Ball is up and growing here. Sumo's also holding this lineup here is actually quite nice. The Sumos are perfect for that kind of job where you just need an area not to be transgressed by the enemy. You just put a bunch of Sumos there and they'll pretty much mop up anything the enemy can send at you. Anything short of T3, and even some T3, they're not going to even have a problem with. Marauder, they can certainly shut down. Even Razorbacks to an extent, although that can be a little bit risky too. The real winner, though, are the Sheldon in the backline firing away at all this unit composition here. The Sumo are nothing but glorified spy bots meant to provide vision right here for the Sheldon to fire away with. I really like the Sumo production. I think we should double down on that. I think going for mass Sumo right here, now that we've got a Sheldon Ball, I think it would be wonderful. You just keep this Sheldon Ball alive and you keep it out of reach of the enemy, they're going to have to make some sort of killer play in order to catch it anyway. So as long as you don't make any bad decisions with the Sheldon, like leaving them exposed to medium tanks, I think you're going to be A-okay right here. Just move the Sheldon, or move the Sumo down, make a nice defensive front line, nothing that they can be ran by a blockade runner, an assault unit. Sharpshooter pushed forward over here. There's a bunch of Hornets in the air, but they can't see the sharpshooters. That's funny. Well, sharpshooters didn't pick their targets very well, I will say. Certainly should have gone after the lab over here instead of, well, basically anything else. What a complicated battle over. Are these all lightning turrets? My goodness. No. Yes? Yes. Mostly. It's a big spread of lightning turrets and walls. One thing that's pretty interesting, you might think about this, might consider this, lightning turrets cannot be trampled by units, whereas the regular walls will just be crushed into the treads of most T2 vehicles, and especially T3. Lightning turrets cannot, but they can always be hidden by just turning off their fire at will status and just tell them to close up. It's a funny way to make a, well, I don't want to say impenetrable wall, but a slightly more sturdy wall, as you actually build it out of lightning turrets. The more you know. Learn something new here on the Brightworks every single day. Finally, some aggression in the middle of the map here as we start to blast down a whole lot of this T2 metal extractor infrastructure, as well as a lot of the T1 defenses. The Maus are definitely putting up a good fight right now, but there's just so much medium tank. It doesn't really matter how good of a fight you put up if the medium tanks are just overwhelming. More stuff beats less stuff, as the age-old adage goes. Nuclear missile coming up in the backline right over here. Beastie Pet going to be trying to make one of those juicy Cortex nuclear missiles. It's about 70% of the way complete right now. It'll come up in another couple of minutes or so. To check back in to see where that targets. Yeah, Starlight caught out of position here. Does snipe one of those bulls though. At the very least, before it goes down and takes a whole bunch of those pawns with it, it'll manage to snipe one of those very expensive heavy tanks right here from the Maroon Commander. The economy in the backline, it's looking all right, but it's not looking fabulous, I have to admit. Panic's economy is basically fusion-based. Usually when you get fusion reactors up and running, it's really easy to fall into the trap of just producing more and more fusion reactors. Very easy to forget that it's way more efficient to go for those Aphises, and once you've got 2 fusion reactors, you've got 90% of the cost of an advanced fusion reactor. Aphises taking 9,000 metal, and 2 fusion reactors taking, what was it, 8,600 or something? Yeah, 8,600. Mine layers over here. Interesting. Okay. These are heavy mines, so if we see T3 wandering out, or maybe if we see these Zars start to roll down south here, those mines are definitely going to be extremely effective. I'm going to nuke them in advance, says Beastie Pet. Not a bad tactic. The old nuke in advance, as I call it. Good old Pawpaw Brightworks. Medium tanks on the southern side still. Yeah, the era of the medium tank is over, and I'm glad to see that we're going up to heavy tanks right here. Gunslingers coming up in mass. That's a bit funky. Gunslinger's not usually a unit that we see in mass. Nice Spybot connection right there. Beautiful, beautiful Spybot connection. Wonderfully done by the Green Commander. Catches probably more than half that army. Probably about 65% of that army gets caught in the Spybot EMP blast, meaning it's completely paralyzed and obliterated by the Mammoth Sumo Sheldon composition. What an absolute demour of a composition. Dragono going to be more than happy with that trade he just took here. Now just has to work through a lot of this T1 static defense. Lightning tanks tickling the armor of the Sumos and the Mammoths. Nothing at all for those heavy bots to deal with, and the Sheldon are going to be more than happy to push forward here. Absolutely wonderful. This is a beautiful, beautiful composition. Those Mammoths can reach out and hit extremely hard, and with the Sheldon firing away from the backline, things are going to melt away as soon as this push connects across the map here. We're going to need to see some sort of massive, massive play in order to shut down that army. Demon engaging on the northern side. Is that nuke up and running yet? Oh, sorry. It's about halfway complete. Come back to this side. We do find a whole bunch of gunships up. Okay, air player finally getting involved in the battle here. Gonna send a couple of Hornets and Banshees and all sorts of other stuff to try and deal with a lot of these Zors. For what it's worth, it's actually working pretty well. No air player here. Well, there is an air player. Where are those airplanes coming from? Coming from back here. A couple of airplanes coming out for Zombie. But other than that, they're just T1. They're not T2, so yeah, those airplanes not really going to be extremely effective. I think anti-air vehicle trucks probably going to be a little bit better of a choice. Extremely, extremely effective. Loads of Razorbacks here as well. Always happy to see some Razorbacks. Switch into this camera real quick. Watch this demon coming across the map. Beautiful little model on the demon with its little horns and everything as well. Little bit of a battle going on over here. Love to see that. Bull's finding an excellent opportunity here to fire away at some of those hounds. Love to see it. This army is looking fabulous, though. We even have the Spybot in front for a little bit of extra vision. I really do love to see that. This is the Cortex Wet Dream. This is the exact composition you're hoping for. Ooh, the Bulls with the flank, though, are really massive. Yeah, they do catch up the Sheldon in the back, and they manage to take out a huge portion of the Sheldon from behind. That is a really, really nice wraparound right there from the Maroon Commander. Manages to actually take out a significant portion of this punch right here. Easy to forget just how important those Mammoths, or those Sheldon are, but they are essentially the main DPS core of that entire composition right there. Resbots immediately get to work. Are they resurrecting or reclaiming? It looks like they're resurrecting. Okay, gonna patch some of those units up. I suppose as vengeance for sending them against the Green Commander in the first place. They're gonna be patched up and used against him. Demon out here on the main battle line, blasting away. We'll switch back to our standard camera. There's the nuke. Or was that a nuke? No, that was a Commander Death. Commander Death right there. I believe it was W-Bot X. The Tan Commander goes down. Razorbacks walking right through the heavy mines over here. Wow, beautiful, beautiful plays right there. 4 Razorbacks dealt with. That was probably the most efficient dealing of 4 Razorbacks I've ever seen before in my life. Massive nuclear connection right over here, though. Wipes away everything that wasn't T3, standing in the middle of the map. Blasted to smithereens. Nuclear glass left in the crater, meaning that those Razorbacks are going to have effectively a field day moving forward here. Nothing left to stop them. Bombers and gunships, though, causing some trouble. Wouldn't even mind seeing one of the players, maybe the green player, going for an air transition here. We do have some airplanes coming up, but actually it looks like we have an air transition right here from Dobid, who has gone for quite a few fusion reactors. All right, we'll take it. No T2 static defenses over here, interestingly. I suppose the T1 will just do for now. You know what? Hornet's fairly resistant against those Razorbacks. I thought that many Razorbacks would have been able to kill it, that many being 2, I believe. Thought that would have been able to kill that many Hornets, but apparently not the case. Ooh, Bulls are being sent over here. There was actually a nice resurrection effort. Yeah, really nice, actually. Those Grave Robbers have brought to life a couple of those Zars, and a whole bunch of heavy tanks are there to escort as well. Catapult firing away. These Bulls find themselves in a really tricky situation here. Accidentally way overcommitted. Easy to lose 3,000 metal that way. Sorry, 6,000 metal that way. Plus or minus some from the, inclusion of enemy units and whatnot. Resurrected Bulls on the southern side. Going to be used for a little bit of a run-by. Roll-by. Maybe a better term for that. One of the Starlights goes down. It's a nice pick-off. Demon is headed in this direction, though. Demon's pretty expensive. Coming in at 6,000 metal apiece, 90,000 energy apiece. A lot of people tend to think of them like a more advanced version of a Marauder, but it's important to note that they lost their amphibious quality, so they can't actually run underwater. One of the things the Marauder is famously good at. The Demon kind of fits its own role. It's something closer to a Razorback, I would say. It's like a more advanced version of a Razorback. Advanced, maybe not the right word. A more dangerous version of a Razorback. How advanced are 2 flamethrowers? Maybe it's 4 flamethrowers, though. They do have 4 little barrels to shoot their flame out of. Either way, they're brought low by the Mammoth right here. Often has the question been asked, what does Cortex do against T3 units? The answer, it would seem, is the Mammoth. You simply produce enough of these bad boys and you're going to be in a pretty good spot here against those T3. They just have so much health that it's really impossible for the T3 to blast through them. What a nice little comeback on the northern side. Yeah, the red team using their resources way more efficiently here. We have the catapult. It's been firing away for a good long while. We have a lot of resurrection happening here, which is always really cool to see. Wouldn't even mind seeing us resurrect some of these units just to reclaim them, just for the full metal value. When you're playing from behind, it's really easy to forget that that's an option, but it can definitely help. You can save about 30% of the metal of those corpses, those wreckages. Turn them into effective metal gain. Sumos and mammoths and hounds, oh my. Resbot's here to eat all this up. Glad to see it, but I'd love to see these demons resurrected. They're a juicy source of metal, but resurrecting them would be really fabulous. A couple of demons right on your enemy's front line would be absolutely huge. Not going to be the case, though. Tons of those resbots just died right there. Looks like they're a little bit shell-shocked. They're trying their best anyway. Now the Hornets arrive. Yeah, you know what? Air support a little late into the game, but certainly making an impact. These Hornets are doing excellent work over here. Big nuke connects on this northern side. That's quite nice. At the very least, shuts down a little bit of that aggression. I'm surprised we haven't nuked the backline yet. Maybe the Lavender player here, assuming the backline would have aim to nuke, much like myself, a lot of them have forgotten it. It's easy to forget, at least in my eyes. Easy to forget. It's a lesson you'd think you'd only need to learn once, but I've certainly learned it a good many deal of times, and I'm sure I probably won't learn, or I probably will learn it a couple more. We had Razorback in mass at one point in the middle of the map, and I'm just wondering where those went. It looks like, I guess, the demons pretty well countered them. That was 10% off that demon right there. 10% off discount right here is huge. Actually really nice. I mean, yeah, the Ambassador, there's no way the Ambassador should ever reasonably hit a demon with a rocket, but when it does, because the demon's standing still, oh, it's a lot of damage. Damage per metal wise, it's extremely high. These demons have really broken the lines right here. Really nicely done. Really nicely done, yeah. I think that nuke opened up this northern side quite a bit, but again, we haven't quite learned our lesson. There's a couple of anti-air flak trucks, but definitely not enough. They do shoot down the fighters over here, which is quite nice, and eventually they're going to start working on these Hornets. There we go. Some of those T2 fighters will be pulled. Still, though, the bombers managed to connect with a bunch of those AA flak trucks. They don't kill them, but the ensuing Razorbacks and the follow-up aggression right here probably will. Sharpshooters are firing away, though. That's quite nice. Yeah, actually, I didn't see those sharpshooters before. Those would be quite good for dealing with that Razorback right there. Every time a sharpshooter's gun clicks, a fairy loses its wings. Goes the age-old adage. Was that friendly fire from the demon? Did those do friendly fire? It'd be a little bit of a bummer if they did friendly fire. Their literal friendly fire. Ah, Starlights. One of those double-edged swords. You want them in mass, but you definitely don't want to keep them together. You have to build them into very weird organizations, very, very strange compositions, just so that they don't chain react on each other. Starlights over here quite nice, though. Yeah, you can see they shred off about 20% of the health from one of these demons per blast. But the demon is so surprisingly strong and really good against Razorbacks. I think it's good that Cortex has their effective T3 counter to the Razorback now. Definitely felt like there was something missing. There was a gap there between the Shiva and the Juggernaut, and I feel like the demon fills it very, very nicely. Still very expensive, still very Cortex expensive, as per usual. But I feel like for what you pay, you actually get a really menacing unit. Heavy landmines, man, so effective here. Demolishing the health bar of that Razorback there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 landmines, I think it was. Brought it down to about 6% HP or 10% HP, something like that. Loads of vanguards over here. Oh my goodness. All right, 10 vanguards out on the front lines. Well, that's dangerous. Vanguard's one of those units that's really hard to counter once they're big, or once they're built up in a big bundle. Really difficult to counter. The thing is, there's not a great counter to them. The catapult is available, but the fact of the matter is the catapult costs almost 3 times as much. Where was that catapult? Let me just check up the price real quick. Yeah. Oh no, sorry, not 3 times as much. It was way off. 4,900 versus 3,300. Still costs a whole hell of a lot more. And for what it's worth, the catapult is much better against lesser units, much better against big swarms of chaff and all that sort of stuff. I feel like there's a wider range of things that the catapult is better against. On these heavy landmines. Again, doing some huge work though. Nuclear bombers come across the map. Gonna start connecting over here. It looks like these are on, actually they're not on hold fire. Or fire at will, rather. They're at obliterate that guy in particular mode. You can switch them to fire at will, and then it'll allow them to, yeah, just fire to anything they fly over, which is oftentimes usually pretty useful. Allows you to target down incredibly large areas with the nuclear bombers without them doing this and wasting their bombs all over the place. There's so many good targets right here. The nuclear bombers feel like they're just not going after them. The air lab over here, the APHIS, the commanders, of course. There we go. Much better targeting right there as the bombers do take out an APHIS over on this side. Managed to, I mean, it might have been a fusion actually. Whatever it was, it's gone now. Reduced to atoms. The bombing run plus the demon marching through on the northern side will seal the deal for Denny00, who loses the main portion of the base here. The main production center anyways. Still a significant eco center over here. We have a lot of T2 metal extractors and some wind turbines and all that sort of stuff, but it will not be long before more of those T3, T2 units wander on into that base. More nuclear bombings every day. Anti-nuke fires up into the air to try and shoot down the nuclear missile. That was a little bit ambitious as far as nuclear missiles go. Not wrong to give it a try, but ambitious. Cargonets in mass over here on the southern side. Not bad. The Titans are here to play. Ooh, so close. 8% left on that advanced fusion reactor there. Yeah, the nuclear bombers. Typically, it takes 2 of them to kill it, but I'm guessing their bombs must have just collided off to the side or something. Not gonna matter, though, as the Titans begin to roll through. The commander explodes with its ship, going down with it, I guess you could say. Bonex, I guess, going to draw this out, but it's not going to matter. The red team realizes there's just too much pressure all across the board. And from what looked like an almost all the way there comeback, it looked like they were really going to crash through this northern side and also push back the middle of the map. Eventually, the blue team managed to re-rally themselves and secure the W. What an awesome matchup beyond all reason. Love these matches on Bismuth Valley. Let me know what you think about it down below in the comments section. Sure hope you enjoyed the cast, and leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I like to remind people it does help quite a lot now that we've passed that 6,000 subscriber mark. I'm overjoyed to have this many people enjoying the Brightworks, and I sure hope that you're enjoying your time here. I will see you in the very next video, and I sure hope you have a great rest of your day. Peace out, everybody.